gutted, washed, and hung up in quarters. The hide would be salted, rolled up, and thrown in the hide house, and we'd be ready for another. Usually we butchered about 26 cows a week. That made enough meat for the meat market in town and for the camps on cheap. We never sold prime beef like you see in the markets today. No, sir. It was mostly old dairy cows that were shipped in. Some of them must have been as tough as leather. I reckon woodhicks had good teeth. The hogs, of course, was different. People didn't market too many old hogs. Do you know how hard it is to get the smell of birching off your hands? It's hard to do. You can scrub with all the light soap you've a mind to use, and as soon as your hands are dry, you can smell it. It's like a mixture of blood, guts, and tallow. The tallow hangs on the longest. Like I said, I got tired of killing. Nothing to do about it though. I had to work, and the people had to eat.
I was raised on a mountain farm, and when we moved into town, I thought it was the best place I ever saw. I was a very pretty girl, and several young men showed interest in me. Of all the boys I knew, I liked Sam Barnes the best. He was very attentive to me, and we went together for several months. But when I told him I was going to have a baby, it upset him terribly. I cried, and he swore some terrible oaths. Then he said he'd make the plans and we get married right away. Next day, Sam
grabbed a handful of freight.
That's what the boys around town said when somebody left town on a freight train. I've seen a lot of things happen here. When I first came here, things upset me terribly. But now, I don't give a crap. I just let things go the wrong way. Once in a while, though, when I get to thinking back this way, get all stirred up, and that's when I wish this whole dang lumber business would just go away.
You've heard the saying, a strong back and a weak mind is all you need to be a sawyer.
Strong back and a weak mind.
I can say there's no truth in that. To be a sawyer, you gotta have a mind as well as a back. Oh man, if you was to put two greenhorns out there together and tell them to saw down trees, they'd kill each other in half a day. Wouldn't get no trees down either. First off, you gotta have a sharp saw. You need good wedges and a sharp axe. Some let another man do the chopping, but not me. I notch my own trees. That way, I know which way they're going to fall. Now remember this, any sawyer is only half a team. If you don't have a good man on the other end of that saw, you just as well turn in. No man can pull a crosscut all day with 175 pounds hanging on the other end. Before two men can saw together, they've got to get the feel of each other. I also heard some dressed up visitor call it rhythm. Well, that's too big for me. All I know is you want a buddy that gets your stroke. And how far to pull the saw, and just knows when to stop and let it stop back your way. It's a mighty good idea too, if two sawyers like each other. It ain't much fun to pull a crosscut all day with a fellow that hates your guts. There's another reason too. The woods just have a way of shutting the human mouth. It's so big and quiet and stuff, and when you go into it, you feel sort of small and you shut your trap. It's like when you go into church, I guess. I think I took the job because I like to see the big trees drop. When I was young and I saw a real big tree, I wanted to see it fall. Anymore, I'm not that way. I hate to see those big ones go. Sometimes when I ride through all the miles I've cut, I feel sort of bad. Looks like I've spent my life skinning the earth.
Lumbering is the most dangerous job in the world. Accidents were common, and they resulted in all degrees of injuries. People, as always, expected miracles from the doctor, no matter what the ailment. Only by train could I send a patient to the hospital, and trains ran only twice a day. Often patients died who might have been saved had hospital care been quickly available. My territory was the town plus every camp on the mountain. I had a total patient load for about 4,000, and the distance between them might have been as high as 50 miles. I was called at all hours of the day and night, and when I went to bed that night, I never knew whether morning would find me there or in the camp 30 miles down near Cheat River, where I pedaled on a railroad speeder to treat an injured woodhead.
The Lord tested Job by sending a plague of painful boils. At times, I think he tested his preachers by sending them to the lumber towns. None of the towns were overrun with angels or saints. It seemed that the lumber town people expected their towns to have a general atmosphere of good, while they reveled in all the vices that had made. Cass for many years had only one church, but it was shared by 3 denominations. The Presbyterian, Southern Methodist, and Methodist Episcopal each had a preacher, and we took turns on church service. The custom of paying church dues with farm produce was common in some farm community churches, and it was not uncommon to have a wagon load of produce brought in from home. In addition to my regular preaching duties, I visited members, buried the dead, and called on the sick.
Each time I catch breath, it ripped through me like hot knife, and it is hard to catch the same breath. I know, I soon die. I want for to go back to Maria, but all the same, I know I die. Pneumonia say other fellas. Pneumonia. Much things come back to me now. I see me sunny Italy again. I'm 20-year-old again, and I pick the orange with my friend in my little town. We dance and sing. I dance with Maria. Most people somewhere got dream. Me and my Maria, we got dream together. Someday we say that dream come true. Someday I go to America. In America, there is much money. In America, everyone is free. Our tickets say Cass, West Virginia. There says the big man, we build railroad. I do not understand the words on my paycheck. One thing I do know, my name is not on my check. I only had the number. And it is the same number printed on the brass tag I wear on a string around my neck. Work on the track is good in summer, but winter, she is the devil. The mountain is so cold, snow's coming. The daytime is cold and the nighttime is colder. Sometimes I think I hate that track. I get tired of dig. I get tired of beat walks with hammer. I lift on heavy rails. My back, she almost break. I pound spikes with Nick. His hammer hits when mine come up. My hammer hits when his come up. His turn, my turn. Me, you, me, you, me, you. One thing always keeps me going though. Each day, another $1.50. Each day, Maria a little bit closer. Down my bones, I'm cold. And I stumble like I'm drunk. Next morning, I no get up. I can't get breath. I cough up blood. And gang will say, got pneumonia. I know I die. Goodbye, my dream. Goodbye, my sweet Maria.
In 1906, my first real promotion came. I was made timekeeper for 150 Italian section workers. After a few months more, I became head timekeeper on the entire mountain. Now, I felt like I had a real job. The camps were scattered all over the mountain and along the tracks. Altogether, I had more than 1,200 men on the books. The loggers and train crews I kept by name. But the Italians, they all went by number. I kept time for many men for many years and never knew their name. All the names I kept on the time books would read like a roster of a great army. But always, we were near to death. Men fell beneath the engines, and they died under the crash of falling trees, or the high pile of logs with a sudden roll, crush out of a worker's life. Yes, there was always drama. There was laughter. sweat, and blood. My second wife has died, and I am left chiefly with my memories. Many people come to me now. They want information of the rousing days, and they want more of the great timber activities as well. They ask about the trains, the camps, and the men. I answer as best as I can, but my only source of information is my memory. Like the human race is prone to do, I failed to keep records of the past. I never thought of history as being made around me. Wish I'd kept records. Wish I'd written many things down.
It was all my father's fault that we came here. He always said he wanted to work someplace where he could have more elbow room. Goodness knows the rest of the family didn't want to come. Mother tried her best to change his mind, but he was determined. Heaven knows I didn't want to come. I just knew I'd simply die here. I heard about all the log towns, and I just knew something terrible was going to happen to one of us. Like Mother said to Dad, suppose best was to marry one of those terrible loggers. I positively shuddered at the thought. Ugh. I'd rather die, and I knew I just would. Well, would you believe it? I'd heard that they just ate raw meat and drank just simply gallons of whiskey. I knew I'd just be simply terrified if I ever met one of them. When I looked at that man, I almost suffocated. Really, I almost did. Would you believe it that that man was handsome? And I don't mean just passable or anything like that. I mean, he was just too handsome for words. We were married in May, and Billy got work in town. We live here now. I'm expecting a baby in March, and the whole family's just tickled pink.
You could go through that mill in 15 minutes, but it took me 40 years. That's sort of a joke of mine, but it's true in a way. It's this way. I've worked here for 40 years. I started out there unloading logs into the pond, and that's where the mill work starts. I can't remember now which jobs I did next, but some time or another, I rode deck, worked on the carriage, and turned down. Turning down was a heavy job for a man as light as me, and I was glad to get away from it. I found running the edger tough work too. I fed the hog for 2 years, and finally got back to the mill proper, and I never left it again. I got used to the hard work there, and it didn't worry me as much in later years. In 40 years there, I had enough sawdust to make a big log inside of me, and the doctor tells me I got a lot of it in my lungs. But I don't know. I feel alright. Only trouble is, I'm a little deaf. That noisy place would drive any man to deafness.